Hi, I'm Chike Coleman, and that's Chuck Koplinski, and we're back for another week of talking about movies. So, everything is awesome, and everything is better when we work as a team, right, Chuck?
That's what I've heard.
That's the theme of
I have heard.
this week's film that we're talking about, the Lego Movie.
I guess so.
This film stars Chris Pratt, Elizabeth Banks.
The voices of.
Yes, the voices
Let's,
of
make sure
Chris Pratt, Elizabeth Banks, Will Ferrell, Liam Neeson, Morgan Freeman.
Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum's in that?
He's Superman.
Oh, really?
And Jonah Hill is Green Lantern.
Jonah Hill's Green Lantern and...
Wait. No. Yeah, Jonah Hill, because the guys who made this film made 21 Jump Street.
Oh,
so
no
they had
wonder.
those two guys in as voices.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Thanks for being aware.
Yeah, I tried.
You're right on top
I
of it.
tried.
Yeah.
So, the premise of this film is basically that there's this character named Emmett. He has an accident on a construction site and gets a Lego pinned to his back. And, not pinned.
The piece of resistance.
A piece of...
if you're going to tell the story, tell the story.
All right,
a piece of resistance.
A piece of resistance pinned to his back, and this girl named Wildfire basically says, because you have this piece of resistance pinned to your back, you must be the one. And by the way, you're also a master builder, and you can stop this evil corporate Lego Mr. Business from destroying our world with tacos.
Wow, you are really doing this movie justice, I have to say. Go ahead.
And so Emmett and Wildfire set off on an adventure to basically stop Mr. Business from destroying the Lego world with tacos. Chuck, do you really wanna janitor my synopsis?
Well, there is much more than that going on.
Oh yes, there is. I just don't want to give it away.
What?
I just don't want to give it all away.
Okay.
The interesting thing about this film for me is, not only is it beautifully animated, just stellar, but you've really got these hilarious moments that just stick out at you like a sore thumb. For example, Emmett's not the smartest tool in the shed at all. He comes up with these ideas that are just beyond dumb, where everybody else is kind of not navigating from instructions. They're just kind of building things that are coming to them in their imagination. See, Emmett's from a world where there's always this built order. You have to follow the instructions. You have to do everything in a certain formulaic order. And because he, the one and basically this all-purpose special, he is realizing that, hey, there are a group of people out there who don't follow the rules and make these awesome things, but I'm too used to order, structure, and I don't like this chaos. But our universe needs to be saved, and I have to do something about it. And I love the whole contrast between the order and, needing to follow the instructions versus the chaos of there's so many amazing things you can build when you're not following the instructions.
Using your imagination.
Using your imagination to basically build anything you want.
Right.
Chuck, what did you think of this film?
I liked it. I didn't fall down all over myself over it like many people have been doing. A lot of people I've read or heard think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread and milk in a bottle. I don't think that, but I do think it's a solid movie. I love the ending. For me, without the last 10 or 15 minutes, I don't think I would have liked it. I don't think I would have recommended it. But the last 10 or 15 minutes save it for me.
I laughed hard once and chuckled a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Where did you laugh hard most? I want to know.
You know what? The problem I had with the film is that it seemed visually to be too manic at times for me.
Yeah, a little bit.
When the master builders are building, and not only are they building, but everything's moving as well.
Yeah, it goes by so quickly that you don't really even notice it all.
It was
until it's all complete.
You can't notice anything because it's just confusion for me. That was the biggest problem I had with the movie. As far as laughs were concerned, it's about like what you said. It was chuckles and nice smiles along the way. but there was never a knee-slapping moment for me at any point. I guess I liked the Liam Neeson character, which I thought was very clever.
Everybody loves the Liam Neeson character out of all the characters.
Good cop and bad cop all in one. When he throws his fits, I guess I laughed, especially when he chucks a chair, seemingly, hundreds of feet, and it clunks a cop who's fleeing his anger right in the head. Silly slapstick, but I liked it. You forgot also Will Arnett.
Yeah, I was trying to think of his name, and I
Batman.
couldn't remember his name at all. But yeah, Will Arnett is in it as Batman.
Completely unlikable Batman.
Yeah, pretty much Batman
Completely
as
unlikable.
a douchebag.
Big
Just
jerk.
The most horrible person you could possibly meet.
Yeah. I did read an interview or a little blurb where he said that the basis of that was that he and the directors were talking about how Batman has become so serious over the years, so they just wanted to take it to that into level of seriousness to where he is a complete. You can't stand to be around him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I will say I was moved once, and it involved...
At the end?
No, actually.
Oh, okay.
The idea of what when good cop, bad cop's parents were involved.
Actually, you know what? That was probably the biggest laugh. I did enjoy that.
I was just like, oh no, don't do that.
Actually, Grant and I will run those lines at home because that's our favorite part of the movie.
That was my favorite part of the movie as well.
Don't move.
I just loved it. I loved it. I was like, oh, this is so horrible, but I can't help but laugh.
See, you moved. You didn't have to.
Yeah.
All I want is a absolute perfection.
Yeah, and then they had to get the robots in to actually make the perfection exist.
Yeah, and Will Ferrell was perfectly cast as, there's the snide,
Mr.
smarmy,
Business.
funny guy.
Yeah.
But again, I just want to go back to that ending. The ending really kind of harkens back to the Toy Story movies at their
Really
best.
does, yeah.
This whole notion that as we get older, we lose our imagination.
Yeah, lose our ability to feel free to be innocent again.
Right, yeah, we have all these other adult concerns, and we lose that. And for them to comment on that as effectively as I think they do at the end,
Oh, especially at the end.
for me, saved the movie.
The other thing I really enjoyed, and this is a weird, funny moment that I laughed at, was when the spaceman finally got to build his spaceship.
Yes, he finally gets to, his retro 80s spaceship.
I swear he was like going crazy.
Yeah, space guy.
Oh my gosh. You're just like, spaceship, spaceship, spaceship. And you're just destroying everything while he is like so happy that he finally got to build what he wanted. Just so great. One thing that I also think is a strength of this movie is the voice acting. If the voice acting didn't come across as believable, we wouldn't believe the characters. And I think that's a real huge credit to Chris Pratt playing the dumbest version of himself that I've ever seen in his acting career.
Oh boy.
Which is really...
Do you watch Parks and Recreation?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, you think really that Emmett is dumber than Andy?
It's a close... Fine, it's a close second. Fine, it's a close second. And I also reference Chris Pratt's other work in Everwood as the older brother.
I never saw that.
He was dumb as a boxer.
Was he? Okay, I didn't see
that. So he's really good at playing a dumb character.
Yeah.
I like this movie a lot, but I don't love it as much as everybody else does.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it provides a really important lesson as to, innocence and why you don't always have to lose it. You don't always have to be super serious.
Right.
I do want to spoil one thing about the movie, though, that I thought was just beyond brilliant, which is the scenes that we have in the real world are just fantastic. And that little caveat at the end of what happens at the very end of the movie, what the father says, oh, now that you've been able to play downstairs, this person can now come in. I was like, oh, no.
Well, they're already making a sequel.
Yeah, they are.
So, or writing it, I should say. Yeah, I knew it was going to be big. I didn't think it was going to be this big. And, what a tentpole franchise now for, I believe, Warner Brothers.
Yeah, Warner Brothers did that, yeah.
And it saves them, really, because they've been looking for a franchise to take the place of Harry Potter since that ended a few years ago and have been spinning their wheels with the superhero things. So this is going to fill in that gap for them until they get the superhero thing right, if they ever do.
Did you hear they have a second franchise that may be coming back?
Refresh my memory. I think I heard, but refresh my memory.
The Matrix trilogy may be making a reemergence in prequel form, I
Oh,
hear.
that's too bad.
I know. I know. All the things we loved about the first one are now
But if they go prequel, I can see there's some
prequel about the
possibilities
creation
there.
of the Matrix and all
Yeah,
of that.
okay, all right. As long as they don't try to extend a story that should have been extended beyond one movie. I mean,
I agree. If they just stick with one movie or maybe 3 films talking about different sections of how the Matrix was created,
that might work.
might work.
Certainly, the Wachowski siblings need something because their film coming out this year
It looks like crap.
Awful.
Yeah.
I mean,
it looks like the
Transcendence, I believe. Is that
no Transcendence is a Wally
is the
Pfister
Johnny Depp
movie.
Yeah. Isn't Transcendence the
Wally
Johnny
Pfister.
Depp?
Yeah, Johnny Depp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Interstellar is the Christmas
Nolan,
with McConaughey.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the one I can't remember because as soon as I saw Channing Tatum with pointy ears, I checked out.
Yeah, my brain went, really?
We're done.
Nope.
Yeah.
Sorry. The other thing I wanted to talk about is films that move you. How do films move you, Chuck? I mean, this is the one that's definitely going to move little kids, and it's clearly moving families.
Yeah.
So, tell me about the films that move you.
And I really appreciate you putting me on the spot like this and not giving me any time to prep. Anymore, after you've been doing this as long as I have, not to sound like an old man, but I guess it has to surprise me. After you've seen hundreds of movies, you can see how things are developing, and you can certainly see things coming.
Mm-hmm.
So for a film to move me, it's got to kind of sneak up on me at this point. But more than anything, it has to be sincere.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the movies that set out to, we're going to make you cry, no matter what. We're going to get the swelling music going. We're going to get the lighting going, and we're gonna make you do it. And as soon as that intent is stated, it's not going to succeed with me.
What's the last film that truly surprised you?
I'd be hard pressed to say, but I mean, whenever I'm asked this question, I go back to Antoine Fisher, a movie from a few years back, directed by Denzel Washington. That movie had the sincerity that I need to be moved. That movie was just so genuine in the way it told its story about a young man who is given up for adoption, sets out to find his mother, and when he finds her, the worst is expected. Mm-hmm. But what else he finds in addition is just so phenomenally moving to me. I love that film. That film has a special place in my heart. Again, I guess I know it's a vague answer, but just sincerity without overstating things is what's going to get to me,
I like the film, I think this may have been either the same year or slightly prior, Pay It Forward has a bit of a moving moment towards the end of the film that I didn't see coming at all. Just everything that happens in, I would say, the last 20-25 minutes of that film really just surprised me and moved me in an unimaginable way. I didn't see it all coming at all. I know that now it's at this point where it's like a cult classic, but that was a very moving film to me. Do you have others that you like from the current age? Is there
the current age?
I'd almost want to say 12 Years a Slave, but
Yeah,
again,
you and I have talked about that as far as how while it was well done, it didn't stay with us.
I would say Roots. Roots will be my other choice, even though it's a miniseries and doesn't technically count as one movie. The things that happened in that film when I saw it for the first time shocked me entirely.
A movie I go back to a lot because I teach it is a film called Stranger Than Fiction with Will Ferrell and Emma Thompson. That film moves me a great deal. And also, it's funny, I was just watching this the other day, Life is Beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
The Roberto Benigni film. So many Oscar things have been popping up online, and one of the things that popped up online was, best Oscar speeches. And Benigni's speech when Life is Beautiful won Best Foreign Film that year is a Oscar highlight. And I went back and watched that, and then it reminded me of the film, and I went back and watched that. And that film moves me. And boy, what a tricky movie. what a tricky movie to be as lighthearted as it is,
Yeah.
take the serious turn that it does,
Oh yeah.
and to still be, I know I'm being manipulated,
But I don't
but
care.
yet he succeeds in moving me,
Yeah.
which is an interesting trick. And I know not everyone bought into the film, and I can completely understand that.
Yeah, yeah.
But he got me.
I think the thing that tends to move me most and surprise me most is not when something unexpected happens. It's just when a reaction feels so organic that I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm completely moved now. My go-to reference for this is the film Amour by Michael Haneke. You've seen that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's that moment when the character of Anne, and I should briefly explain. The film is about Anne and Georges, and they're a couple that's been married for, I'll say 50 years, just to give it a benchmark. And essentially what happens is that something happens to one of them, and the other person has to take care of them. So I would say about more than halfway through the movie, when one is taking care of the other, something happens that results in that person getting slapped in the face. And that was moving and shocking, but it also told me that that person couldn't take it anymore. And I knew it was unacceptable in my head that the person did that, but at the same time it was moving because it just showed me how bad things had gotten.
Well, a very human moment, too.
Oh, yes.
You understood it completely.
Very much so. And that the ending was also a thing that moved me. There's also a little scene that they always put in the trailer for that film involving the piano. And that was moving because you're given this little glimmer of hope, and then it's just snatched away. Like, that's not the reality we live in. And so that was moving to me.
You know, I've been teaching a class over at the Ollie program at the university on films of Clint Eastwood. And, you know, the initial reaction is that, wow, what could possibly be moving in his films? But there's a sense of sadness about so many of his movies when you think about it. A sense of regret, a sense of missed opportunities. When you think of Unforgiven at the end, is devastating, not simply because of the deaths that occur, but because you see the potential of a good man wasted. I find, you know, to be profoundly moving. $1 Million Baby, of course.
Yeah, I was going to go with that one next,
And, you know, what happens to her and the relationship that is formed between her and the older
and how it sort of
coach.
dissolves by the end of the film.
Well,
is
but
amazing.
he does what you couldn't expect anyone to do, what you couldn't ask anyone to do.
Yeah.
Yet succeeds in doing that. Bridges of Madison County, another opportunity missed. The sequence at the end in the rain always moves me. Because again, you're talking about chances. Take this chance, a chance that will take your life in a completely different direction and can't be done. So I guess more than anything, his films are replete with regret. And it's a very mature vision, I think, that goes against the American ideal. This whole
What we
notion
should be able to get.
Yeah,
life.
and you know the whole notion here that you build your own life, you succeed in following your dreams and achieving them, and that whole notion runs against that, and that appeals to me because I think it's a bit more realistic.
Yeah, and I know from my own personal experiences, you know, working as a film critic and, you know, doing jobs outside of this one, that the reality of life is always kind of starkly different than what you were told at the beginning of your life, what you told the possibilities were versus what the reality actually is. And I think movies are a prime medium for giving an example to that. The problem is studios keep saying, well, that's too depressing, that's too sad, we don't want to go there. And I think now movies are just starting to get on the cusp where they're like, you know what, the reality of what life is okay now. We can go there. We can tell those stories.
Well, it's always been there. It
just doesn't show itself that often, and now I'm thinking it's starting to show itself more.
Well, I think it's always been there, but it's what plays is what it is. It's, you know, it's what makes money. I mean, studios have always been noble. I mean, they've made serious films since the beginning. I mean, even during the height of the Depression, there were serious films. But, it's a double-edged sword. It's what you were just saying about how you're told about what's possible, and then you run into the reality. Film is, one of the great things about it is its escapist qualities. I'm all for escapist entertainment when it's done well, when it's done smartly, and I don't think there was ever a greater time when it was used as an escapist vehicle than then during the Depression.
Yeah, I was going to say during the Depression.
It saved us in many ways. But again, there were rough stories being told now. The problem I have, even then, the problem I have now with the escapist entertainment is that so much of it is brainless. Yeah. Escapist entertainment.
I would completely agree.
The escapist entertainment back then at least had some sort of a message. I'll be damned if I can come up with the message in Transformers. I don't quite know what it is.
I don't even think Robots in Disguise is enough of a message.
I'm trying to come up with the subtext here. Yeah, I just,
there
other
really
than technology,
is
running amok, but that's an old message too. It's just, the serious stuff has always been made, but I think even now more than anything, it's just being crowded out more than it ever has been. And we only see it now at the end of the year, the time we're talking now when, the award stuff starts coming out. So it's just, I just think the window has become just too small for us to really see that. You got to hunt it out more now.
You really, really do. You have to know what to look for, and you have to read the plot, and despite what actors may be at the top billing, you have to look for, how does this story interest me, and is it going to interest me enough for me to say, let me rent that?
But that being said, that you have to look for it a bit more. The flip side of the coin, I think we live in an age in which film is available to us in more mediums than it ever has been. So if you do your digging, I think you find that there's probably more out there available to you than you realize.
I agree.
So that's good, too,
I was going to say, are you excited for tomorrow's Oscars?
Yeah, it's always exciting. It's always exciting as to whether it's going to be, a great show or a complete disaster. I mean, rarely is it a okay show. It's either great or it's a complete bomb. So
I think
we'll see
the
what happens.
monologue with Owen's going to be a disaster, but everything else is going to run smoothly.
I don't know. I will say I'm not a fan of hers, but the one thing I did like when she hosted before was how she interacted with the people in the audience. Because she never takes herself too serious, and I do like that. But I remember, we came back from a commercial, and she had, a broom and one of those things where you pick up, and she was cleaning up the rows. And I remember she sat in Eastwood's lap to get a picture and handed a script to Scorsese at one point. So I like that stuff, and I think if she employs that, I think we'll be off to a good start. The one thing I hate is, when they devote any time to the show to music. And I know they'll continue to do that with singing the songs and having a dance sequence.
You can expect Frozen to make an appearance.
And I don't understand how they don't that they don't get that this is a show about a visual medium. Music is a part of it, but it's not such a part of it, I don't think, to where we stop this show dead in its tracks.
Yeah.
Which they make that.
Usually do.
If they would call us, we could solve these problems.
Are you expecting any surprise categories for this year's Oscars? Where do you think there's going to be an upset anywhere?
I don't know. I think Gravity will walk away with the most. It's nominated for 10, and most of those nominations are in technical categories. So just as far as greatest number of hardware, I think it's going to win. Again, I think the big question is Best Picture this year.
There may be an upset in Best Picture. I'm also possibly...
Would you call it an upset, though? I mean, if Gravity wins, would you call that an upset?
Actually, having just recently seen Gravity, no, I would not. But I would say the other category I'm slightly scared of in terms of there possibly being an upset. And I don't know how many people like this director. I know you're not a fan of him, but Hayao Miyazaki's final film, The Wind Rises, I think...
I know that one has everyone on the edge of their seats.
They might overtake Frozen. I'm not sure.
Not going to happen.
I'm not sure.
I did read an interesting article in the Hollywood Reporter last week in which they were talking about how they think that the Best Picture race is going to be decided by second-place votes this year. I don't know if you're aware of how they count the votes now.
No.
Since they opened it up to having up to 10 nominees,
yes,
a few years ago they changed the voting process. And I guess if you're a member of the Academy, you are required on your ballot to rate every movie in the Best Picture category in your order of preference. So if you think the best film of the year is Gravity, you put that as number 1. If you think the second best is American Hustle, you put that number 2. So we go all the way down the list. Then they count the votes by first place votes. So you've got 9 different piles, theoretically. If you're going to say that every film in the category this year gets at least 1 first place vote, you're going to have 9 different piles. There are approximately, I believe I read this, 6,200 members of the Academy. So the winner of the Best Picture Award has to get at least 3,101 votes.
Oh, yeah.
So if during that first count, that first separation, there isn't a movie with 3,101, they take the movie that has the least number of votes, they take that off the table, and they look on those ballots to see, well, what was your number 2 pick? And then those number 2 votes go into those piles.
Yeah.
And they continue this process until one of the films reaches that, we'll say, 3,101 mark. So they're thinking that no one's going to get it the first time around, and that second round of counting, and maybe even the third round of counting, where they distribute the second place votes, is going to decide this.
I would say that.
So I think then there's an upset brewing. I think that maybe something could sneak in.
But the question is, which of the 3 films that we like the most are going to pull off?
You know what, and this is where the Academy makes its mistake. I mean, I think I've mentioned this to you before. I want to see the results.
Yeah, you have.
You know, and for the Best Picture, if there's 9 nominees, give me the results of the top 5. Fine, I know you understand you don't want to see who's in last, you don't want to embarrass that production, but give me the top 5, you know, so I can see how this worked out. In the acting categories, there's 5 nominees. Give me the top 3. You know, we don't want to embarrass the others, so give me the top 3. You know, and because the Academy's got to differentiate themselves at some point. There's too many award shows now. They come last. So you've got to make yourself unique in some point, and I think this would be the way to do it.
And is Stories We Tell nominated for Best Documentary? Because I don't think it is.
No. And that's a completely other conversation, because the way you get nominated in that category needs to be revised as well.
Oh, well, that's not even fair.
So, I mean, it's not even nominated. I think Blackfish is nominated, and I think it's the leader at this point.
Yeah, it's going to take it.
Probably.
So unfortunate. Well, next week we'll have a review for you of the film starring Liam Neeson, Non-Stop, and hopefully, I believe, by next week the Veronica Mars movie will be released. So.
And we won't have a review of that?
Well, we may.
I mean, you're telling me you would not be there on the first night?
I'm not gonna go the first night.
Okay.
That's too chaotic. I'm gonna find a nice, quiet 4:30, 5 o'clock p.m. slot that I can just.
Actually, that's in 2 weeks. That comes out on the 14th.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so
next
we
week will be Peabody and Sherman, and then the sequel to 300.
Oh, God. That's not much of a choice, is it?
Huh? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well,
and a Brazilian film called Gloria will be at the Art.
Okay. Well, we'll at least review Non-Stop next week, and hopefully another film, maybe 300 Battle of... was it?
Battle for My Attention? I
yeah.
know what it is, yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely what I would call it. So we will see you next week right here on Real Reviews. Bye.